Cobra Kai has been making Karate Kid fans happy and nostalgic from the first episode. That was the main reason people tuned in at first, after all, to revisit some of their favorite characters and see what they were up to, and to see if Johnny and Daniel would ever be able to get it together and bury the hatchet. But the show was great, and as seasons went on, the show built its own new fan base. Still, the creators and writers have always been very respectful of the original movies and what they represented to older fans, so they end up adding some great details that pay homage to the movies, and fans love to search for those moments. Let's check out some of these moments. These are the Cobra Kai moments only true fans noticed. Be warned, there are a lot of spoilers ahead. Before we get started, please remember to give this video a like and to subscribe to our channel. When you turn on the notifications, we can let you know every time we post a new video, so you will never miss a thing. The first episode used scenes from the movie. Okay, I have to admit, you didn't have to know the movies or even have to have watched them to notice this detail. They used scenes from the movies in this episode to join the universe together. But while that was pretty easy to spot, in fact impossible to miss, there was something that only a true fan would have noticed. Some of the shots they used were never before seen footage from the movies. Creators had asked if there was any old footage left, and they were not disappointed. They received loads of pieces of film that were never used in the movies, so this was a great opportunity to use them now. They also showed the scenes more from Johnny's point of view, how that day of defeat impacted him. The show tells us his side of the story. So, showing the scene we all know and love from his point of view sets us all up to start to see things from his point of view. Things might not be completely as clear-cut as we thought all those years ago. Fernandez meets. This is a pretty funny throwback to the movies, and one of my favorite details in the entire series. When Daniel moves into the Reseda apartment, all the way back at the start of the first Karate Kid movie, he meets Freddy Fernandez, a nice guy that seemed to have a bit of an obsession with all things meat. He's wearing a Making Bacon shirt, as it seems that his love of meat has followed him into his adult life. Daniel takes the kids to a meat locker for their training, and it is filled with products from Fernandez Meats. It seems that Freddy Fernandez has turned his love of bacon into an entire business. I always liked him, so I love that they give him a happy ending of sorts. Johnny apologizing for Ali's radio. Another moment that went way back to the start of the first movie came in season 3 when Johnny was having a heart-to-heart with Ali. He says that he ruined their relationship, friendship, and worst of all, her radio, and that he regrets that. He did that in the very first scene that Johnny was ever in. The kids are having a party on the beach and the Cobra Kai guys, especially Johnny, just had to go ruin the moment. And he ends up destroying her radio. Not the way to a girl's heart. It's great that he finally gave her an apology, even if it did take almost 40 years. That is growth, people. Johnny punching through a car window. This wasn't the first time that a Cobra Kai sensei punched through a car window. That happened in Karate Kid 2 when Kreese tried to punch Mr. Miyagi. He missed and broke 2 car windows in the process. It also wasn't the only time that Cobra Kai referenced this moment either. It seems like the writers enjoy rubbing that moment in Kreese's face. In season 2, Daniel also asked Kreese how his knuckles were doing. When his fist went through all of those car windows, he also ended up damaging his knuckles in the process. Just like it should be, he is never going to live that down. And when Kreese talks badly about Mr. Miyagi, Daniel puts him in his place. Kreese makes a nasty comment about Mr. Miyagi and how his name is getting dragged through the mud. But then Daniel reminds him that Mr. Miyagi beat him more than once. It was such a satisfying moment. We might not be able to have Mr. Miyagi in the show, but writers make sure to include him, and what an absolute legend he was regularly. He is still the backbone of this story in many ways after all, and for many of us, the one pure and true mentor from our childhood. So it was a great throwback to remind Kreese that both times he went up against Mr. Miyagi in the movies, he was beaten badly. Miguel asks Johnny how he wants the windows washed. One of the most iconic lines from the movies comes in the beginning when Mr. Miyagi starts to train Daniel with the wax on, wax off method. So it was pretty funny when Miguel asked Johnny how he would like him to wash the windows. You kind of expect there to be this very memorable line, but Johnny just very succinctly says that he doesn't care. Johnny and Mr. Miyagi are two very different types of senseis. Samantha was taught karate with the same technique that Daniel was. A few times during the show, we see Sam and Daniel talking about the ways she was taught karate, and many of the techniques are ones we saw during the movies. For example, Daniel talks about the day that he and Mr. Miyagi were trying to teach Samantha about balance. He says that it was the day that they taught her how to balance on the bow of a boat. That was the same way Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel to balance in the first film. The only difference seems to be that Sam got it much faster. They weren't able to knock her off. Then Sam shows Miguel the Okinawa drum technique. It is one of the most legendary techniques in the Miyagi-verse. It was first used at the start of Karate Kid 2, but very quickly became one of the most iconic and dangerous tools that Daniel had. It inspired him and he used it to defeat Chosen. So it was pretty cool that Sam has such a great knowledge of the Okinawa drum that she could even teach Miguel how to use it. Going back to Daniel and Allie's first date. Speaking of Miguel and Samantha, their date in season 1 at the golf and stuff was pretty cool. But did it seem familiar to you? Maybe because it was almost identical to Daniel and Allie's first date in Karate Kid. Cobra Kai even recreated the golf and stuff at a fun zone in Atlanta. It was seriously well done and gave Karate Kid's fans some serious nostalgia. They recreated the photo booth scene, used the same Super Chex hockey arcade game, and had the couple play a bit of mini golf. For Daniel and Allie, their first date was really the moment that we fell in love with them as a couple and really started rooting for them. So the show wanted to recreate the same feeling for Miguel and Sam too. I think it worked, and besides that was just a really cool tribute to the movies. When Johnny gets a Facebook message. This one was more for all of the Cobra Kai fans and eagle eyes out there. When Johnny got a message from Allie over Facebook, we got to see his profile and some of his friends. Two of them seemed familiar, Shane Keller and Mallory Yund. Know the names but can't seem to place where they belong in the Miyagi-verse? Well, that might be because they have never actually been part of the on-screen show. Keller and Yund are both producers on Cobra Kai, specific fighting methods for each dojo. The way each sensei in this series teaches and practices karate in the show is very much reminiscent of the movies and the ways they were taught when they were karate students. They also use karate to show each person's character and how far they're willing to go. But many of the moves from the show are callbacks to the movies. For example, when Kreese demonstrates a reverse chokehold on Johnny, he used this move on Johnny for real in the second Karate Kid movie, and it shows us just how far he was willing to go to win, even fighting dirty against his own students. So this little detail was a great moment to remind us all just how much of a scumbag Kreese really is, and of all of the little reasons that we can't stand him, and why he really shouldn't be in charge of any more children. Daniel being bullied. For years, fans have been in two camps about the movies and who really was the bully there. Some say that of course it was Daniel being bullied and he only stood up for himself, but other theories say that it was Daniel who was the real bully of the movies and that he created all the drama by himself. So it was pretty funny when Daniel was at the school talking about being bullied and how karate saved him. A voice off screen chimed in that he heard that Daniel was a real bully. It doesn't matter whose team you're on. It was a pretty great moment. Anytime a bonsai tree is seen. Again, the show does a great job of keeping Mr. Miyagi's legacy alive for all of us and for the new fans. Any fan of the show would notice when there is a bonsai tree on screen. Bonsai trees played a huge role in the movies and in Mr. Miyagi's personality. And in the third movie, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel even started their own bonsai tree business called Mr. Miyagi's Little Trees. So it is a great shout out to the movies to see a little tree somewhere on screen. Cobra Kai is a great show and a great tribute to the original movies, and I can't wait to see how they remind us of that in the future. Thanks for watching.